All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. By the way, tomorrow on the show, former Democratic presidential candidate and war hero, veteran Seth Moulton will be joining us tomorrow. So you'll want to stay tuned for that. We're going to continue talking about this China NBA situation, the latest on the backlash that LeBron James is taking for his comments or lack thereof.
Ridiculous.
Last night. Yeah, we're going to continue to monitor that story. Kind of crazy. So do you guys remember, and by the way, Lee Goldberg from the GCI guys joining us as well. You guys remember, I was a big fan of Seinfeld. Remember Kramer, what's his name? Richards, right?
Michael Richards.
Yeah, so he was performing at, was it the Comedy Stop, I believe, in L.A. And at that time, his career wasn't going great, but he was still getting paid money doing stand-up. He was still a name. And he goes on stage, this was maybe 10 years ago at least, and he uses the N-word like a number of times and just loses his mind. And that's really the last time we heard from him. His career
he started attacking people and calling them, getting very personal.
He uses the N-word constantly. And listen, I've been very consistent with this, okay? It makes me uncomfortable. I've never used that word, and it makes me uncomfortable when I hear others use the word. I don't care if you're black or white. I don't think that word should ever be used in any situation. If you want to say the N-word, fine. That word should never be used, and I also don't agree when I understand when an African-American calls another African-American the N-word, it's different than when somebody else, like a white person, calls them the N-word. I understand that argument, but with that being said, I don't agree with it. I don't think if you don't want others to use the word, don't use the word yourself, okay? This is common logic, and I know a lot of African-Americans will disagree with me on that, but I've always felt that way. The word shouldn't be used at all. It's an awful word. To me, it's probably the worst word in the dictionary. It is horrendous.
I will agree.
Yeah. So Governor Andrew Cuomo, as you know,
it's not in the dictionary, by the way.
Oh, it's not. Okay, good.
I don't know. There's no way that word is in the dictionary.
Anybody who uses that word or lets it slip, uses it consistently in their vocabulary. And if you use it in your vocabulary consistently, you're a racist.
No question.
Period.
You cannot argue that fact.
Well, the reason why I bring this up, gentlemen, is because New York Governor Andrew Cuomo did a radio show this morning, and he decided to use the N-word. And we have some audio that we want to play for you. It's a little shocking here. So this is Governor Andrew Cuomo in his own words on a radio show earlier today.
Times also said in an article the other day, apropos of nothing, they were talking about it, going back to the Italian Americans, because you now have me.
I read the article,
right? Yep. They used an expression that Southern Italians were called, I believe they were saying Southern Italians, Sicilians, I'm half Sicilian, were called, quote unquote, and pardon my language, but I'm just quoting the Times, wops, N-word wops, as a derogatory comment.
Okay, first of all, it's not like he was using the word in the same way that Kramer was using it. But at the same time, I think he used bad judgment. It's not as bad as maybe we'll make it all to be, but that he should not have
said what he followed it up with N-word wops. That's all he should have said.
It should have been N-word wops. It shouldn't have been.
I don't know if that makes him a racist from saying that in that context. I think that's just an idiotic, especially for a governor to even say it out loud.
Whoever wrote that speech should probably be fired.
Well, but was he word for word quoting the Times?
Yes. So let me give you two sides. One person that disagrees with the way he used the word, and another person that says, come on. So one of his, and it was a radio interview, by the way, one of his supporters said he said it in the context of trying to yell at the New York Times for being unfair to him, referencing a term they used. So the motivation behind using the word wasn't even defensible. It was just self-serving, which is par for the course with Andrew Cuomo. So obviously this is somebody that is not a supporter of his. We have one of his supporters that said, listen, he used the word in quoting somebody else. There was no negative connotations to it. Then we have somebody else saying Governor Cuomo just said the N-word during a radio interview. It's fine, though, because he's a Democrat. See, here's my problem with some of these people, okay? We've heard plenty of Republicans say some pretty repugnant things, including the president of the United States, who described illegals crossing the border, Mexicans, as rapists and bad people, and sometimes some of the people are good people. But these same people don't have a problem with that. Listen, I don't agree with Cuomo saying the word. I don't think he meant any harm in saying the word. I think that you need to understand that in the context of what he was saying. It's not like he was calling somebody the N-word. That's the opposite of what he was trying to do. And I think,
The problem is, sorry to interrupt you, headlines and social media, that's where we go down this rabbit hole of nosedive of negativity. It's a term I use for an ex-girlfriend, where we go down this nosedive of negativity, and then everyone just starts fighting, and then it's side versus side. But if you actually listen to it, again, he shouldn't have said the word out loud, but it's clear that in context, he's not making a racist statement. Now, whether he's a racist or not, I'm going to opt with thinking he's probably not. But that's one of the problems we have with the media, and especially social media, is there's such a too quick of rush to judgment before getting the real facts and hearing the quote. Because we just heard the quote versus when we heard about the quote, two different things.
It's important to hear it. Listen, there are racist, clear racist, and then there are people who might say the N-word in context, and you can't make that assumption that they are racist. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. We're going to try to get this guy on the show tomorrow. There's a gentleman who was picking up his son at middle school, okay? He's picking up his son at middle school, and I guess a teacher rear ends him, some sort of minor bumper-to-bumper accident. The teacher gets out of the car. She's white. He's black. She gets out of the car. She calls him the N-word. She says, you're probably on welfare. And then he goes, why? Because I'm black? And she goes, yep, that's right, because you're black. He videos it. Thank God he videoed it, because she was fired immediately, and she'll probably never be a teacher again, because she is a horrific human being. She gives white people a bad name when people act like that, and she is a blatant racist. And by the way, the gentleman who videoed that showed the utmost, patience with her, and just didn't yell, didn't swear at her, just continued to videotape, and I'm so glad he did that. That is
a fender bender, too.
Yeah. That is a blatant racist, and we're going to try to get that guy on the show tomorrow who videoed it.
That is when road rage goes wrong.
You've had road rage before.
I don't think road rage goes right.
I have absolutely had road rage
for the record,
in the last week.
For the record, JD's had road rage, but he has never used the N-word.
I do not use those type of words when I have road rage.
I think anyone who says they've never had road rage is lying.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, is road rage when I'm just like yelling out the window, but really more like yelling at myself than anything, or yelling at traffic versus a specific human being?
I can't recall anyone that I know that has ever had road rage. And by the way, you're right. We've all had it. I can't recall anyone calling someone the N-word.
Oh, God, no.
I've called someone an a-hole. I've flipped people off before, but it has nothing to do with the color of their skin.
How red, well, speaking of color of skin, how red does your face turn when you get irate like that on the road? I see how red it gets here behind the mic. I can only imagine
it got red
behind the wheel.
I got red at JD a couple times today. It happens all the time.
It does happen a lot.
But on the road, it's got to be like like the walls.
It happens
as orange as Donald Trump is. You are red.
We call him Tomato Shapiro at that point.
It happens all the time, man. So we only got a few more minutes, but Lee, I want to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about your company, the GCI guys, what you guys are doing for people here in Las Vegas, and what kind of deal can you give people that are listening right now that are thinking of buying a home?
Yeah, appreciate it. And thanks for having me on. I love the show. And just like a lot of the listeners, when I listen all day in the morning, when I'm in the car, drive around doing appointments, it really is a joy to listen to your show. And I live in two places. I spend 17 days a month here and then the rest in Orlando. And we don't have a show like this there. And we should. This is a great show. And I'm really glad to be a part of it.
Thanks a lot, Lee.
My pleasure. And, what we're doing, number one, right now is such a great time in the Valley to be a purchaser, to buy a home. And there's a lot of renters that are out there, and you're throwing money away on rent, and you're thinking, what do I do? How do I do it? Right now, what we're offering is free one-on-one educational seminars. Let us teach you how to become a purchaser. What does the landscape look like? What will it take? It'll be very simple, very easy. But instead of going to these big, seminars, how to be a purchaser, how to be a buyer, well, we're going to do it one-on-one, and we're going to do it confidentially at your speed, at your pace, wherever you want it to be. Your field or ours will make it happen. But what we're doing is we're going to be that free educational resource when you're buying, because it doesn't cost you anything. My services are free. We get paid from the seller. So what I'm going to do for you is, if you're a veteran, a military person, police, fire, teacher, nurse, clergy, any of that. If you're a hometown hero, I'm giving you $2,000 back at closing. But if you're just a regular listener of the show, I'm giving you $1,000 back at closing. If you work in the hospitality or casino industry, I'm giving you $2,000 at closing. Now, you got to buy a house over $200,000, but it's kind of hard not to buy a house over $200,000.
True.
And we're gonna teach that to you as well, as what your options are and what makes sense. For a lot of people, You want to buy a condo now because, one, that's what you could afford, right? But there's only so many condo projects that could get financing. We could find those for you. You buy that for a year or two. Then you turn that into your investment property. Then you go single family.
Now, what if you have questions about loans or getting? Do you have someone to line up for, say, mortgages or something like that?
Oh, yeah. So that's a great question. We work with Intercap Lending. Paul Haslam, that's my guy, and we'll get you hooked up. And that's the thing. I'm the guy that's gonna find you the home and show you what the process looks like. He's the guy who's going to say, okay, this is what your buying power is. This is what you could afford monthly, or you can't get approved, but this is what you need to work on. You're at a 571. I need you at a 600 or a 620. Here's what you need to pay off. And it's not just paying things off. It's how to do it correctly. And all this is free to you. And we're also going to hook you up with a free moving truck, too.
So when you want to buy a house and you come to Lee Goldberg to buy a house and the GCI guys, you're walking them through the entire process.
Yep. The entire process. I'm going to explain everything. I'm going to tell you the pitfalls, what our successes are going to be. And I'm also going to say this. And remember this. This is very important. Whenever you're looking for a home, I'll do that in 1 second. Remember this. Whether you're using me or anyone else, the real estate gods are a real thing. All right, so don't piss them off, one. But two, you will wind up with the home you're supposed to wind up with. So you might miss out on a home or the inspection fails. Don't worry. You're going to find the right home. I promise you that. Number 702-902-3029, 702-902-3029. That's my personal cell. You call or text, I'm going to answer right away. But please follow me on Instagram at the GCI guys. But if you're just curious and you want that education, I got you covered.
Cool. Well, Lee, thank you so much for joining us. Give them a buzz from the GCI guys. Always appreciate it when you come in, Lee. Always fun.
Love it.
And quickly, a sad note. Nobody can make fun of my 04 Hyundai Elantra anymore because I'm picking up a car, JD, as you know.
What kind of car is it, Brian?
A Dodge Charger. I am picking it up right now after the show, and I am giving my piece of garbage 04 Hyundai Elantra to my parents.
Yeah, and it's a tomato-covered or tomato-colored Dodge Charger, correct?
It is, yes. All right, guys. We're going to be taking a 21-hour break. We'll see you same time, same place tomorrow, 9 a.m. The legend himself, Sean Hannity, is coming up next. Have a great day.